When it comes to dividend investing, you've probably seen all sorts of opinions online. People say things like, dividends are free money, dividend stocks are completely safe, or dividends are always better than share buybacks. And that's just the tip of the iceberg. There are plenty more myths out there. That's why in today's video, we're going to break down dividend investing from every angle. First, we're going to bust some of the most common and dangerous myths. Then, we'll look at the pros, the real benefits that make dividend investing such a powerful strategy when done correctly. We'll also cover the cons and the real risks you absolutely need to know about. And finally, we'll bring it all together and talk about when dividend investing is actually a good idea for you. Because here's the thing, not all dividends are good dividends. And once you understand the difference, you'll never look at passive income stocks the same way again. Welcome to Martic Finance, where we explain investing concepts in a simple way. But first of all, a quick disclaimer. This is not financial advice. Alright, let's jump right into the myths. Myth number 1. Dividends are free money. Many people assume that when they receive a dividend, they're getting extra money on top of what they already had, as if the company is giving them a bonus. But that's not what actually happens. A dividend doesn't create new wealth. It simply transfers value from the company to the shareholder. This becomes clear when you look at the ex-dividend date, which is the cutoff for who gets the dividend. If you own the stock before this date, you receive the dividend. If you buy on or after it, you don't. Because the company is paying out cash, its overall value drops by that amount, and the stock price adjusts to reflect the payout. For example, if a stock is $100 and the company pays a $1 dividend, on the ex-dividend date the price will typically open around $99. Before the dividend, you had one share worth $100. After the dividend, you have one share worth $99 plus $1 in cash, still totaling $100. So dividends feel rewarding, but they don't automatically make you richer. The real return comes from the company's performance and long-term growth, not from the act of paying out cash. Myth number 2. Dividend stocks are safe. A lot of people assume that if a company pays a dividend, it must be stable and reliable. But that's not always true. Some companies pay dividends even when their business is struggling, just to keep investors interested. In some cases, a dividend can actually be a warning sign. For example, if a company's stock price is falling, but the dividend stays the same, the dividend yield goes up and can start to look very attractive. But a high yield is often a sign that the market expects the dividend to be cut. And when a company cuts its dividend, the stock price usually drops even more, causing investors to lose both income and value. The truth is, dividends are only as safe as the company paying them. Strong dividends come from businesses with steady earnings, healthy balance sheets, and a track record of managing cash responsibly. Myth number 3. Dividends are always better than share buybacks. Many investors assume that dividends are always better than share buybacks because they provide cash immediately. They think receiving a dividend is a more real or tangible return than a buyback, which is less visible. But in reality, buybacks can be just as effective and sometimes even more tax efficient. When a company buys back shares, it reduces the total number of shares outstanding, which increases each shareholder's ownership percentage and often boosts the stock price. This can create value quietly, without triggering taxes for shareholders until they sell. Dividends, on the other hand, are typically taxed as income when received. So neither dividends nor buybacks are inherently better. The better choice depends on the company's situation, financial health, and shareholder goals. The myth is believing one is universally superior to the other. Myth number 4. Dividend stocks don't grow. Many investors believe that dividend stocks are boring. They think they only deliver income, not growth. But that's a myth. Research shows stocks that consistently grow their dividends often deliver both income and capital appreciation. For example, one study found that companies which raise their dividends tend to outperform those with flat dividends by about 2.4 percentage points per year over long periods. Take the case of McDonald's Corporation. One hypothetical $100,000 investment from the year 2000 in McDonald's, with dividends reinvested, would have grown to over $1 million by 2020. 40% of that came from dividends alone. That shows the growth potential when you pick dividend growth companies. Now that we've cleared up some misconceptions, let's dive into the real advantages of dividend investing. First, dividend-paying stocks tend to be more stable than non-dividend stocks. That's because companies that can consistently pay dividends usually have predictable cash flows, healthy balance sheets, and business models that aren't overly dependent on rapid growth or market fads. For example, companies like Coca-Cola or Johnson & Johnson have been paying dividends for decades, even through recessions and market crashes. Their businesses sell products people use every day, so they can generate steady revenue no matter what's happening in the economy. This stability means that during market downturns, dividend-paying stocks often fall less sharply than more volatile growth stocks. A lot of dividend-paying companies have been raising their dividends year after year, which usually shows they're financially strong and run by managers who think long-term. These companies are often called dividend aristocrats. Basically, businesses that have kept rewarding their shareholders consistently for decades. Dividend stocks can also give you a psychological boost. Seeing those regular payouts can make the ups and downs of the market feel less stressful, even when prices are swinging. It helps investors stay the course for the long term, instead of panicking and selling every time the market dips. But again, this is just a psychological fact. Finally, dividends can serve as a reliable income source, which is especially useful for anyone looking for cash flow without selling shares. Of course, dividend investing isn't perfect, and it's important to understand the downsides. First, high dividend yields can be misleading. Sometimes a very high yield isn't a sign of generosity. It can be a warning that the company's stock price has fallen because the business is struggling. That dividend might not last, and if it gets cut, the stock price often drops too, hurting both your income and the value of your investment. Second, dividends can limit growth. Companies that pay out most of their profits in dividends have less money to reinvest in expansion, research, or new projects. That means dividend-paying stocks often grow more slowly than growth stocks that reinvest everything back into the business. Third, taxes can reduce the benefit of dividends. In many countries, dividends are taxed as income in the year you receive them, which can slow the compounding effect compared to stocks that grow without paying dividends. Fourth, dividends can create false security. Some investors hold a struggling company just because it's still paying a dividend, even if the stock is underperforming. This can trap investors in declining businesses for far too long. Finally, timing matters. Collecting dividends doesn't always line up with your cash needs, and focusing too much on dividend dates can lead to poor investment decisions. So, when does dividend investing make sense? First, it's important to understand your own situation, your goals, your timeline, and how much risk you're comfortable with. Dividend stocks have historically been appealing to people who value a steady flow of cash, whether that's for retirement or just having some extra income without selling shares. They can also bring a sense of stability to a portfolio, because companies that consistently pay dividends are often mature and financially strong. That said, not every dividend-paying company is automatically safe or reliable. And that's it for today's video. I hope you now have a clearer picture of how dividend investing really works. I'd love to hear your thoughts and feedback in the comments below. It always gives me great ideas for future videos. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like and subscribe for more. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.